YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, and today I'm going over my biggest steals of NFL free agency. We did a video covering the best moves. I'll do a video with my favorite signings, some sleeper signings, and we'll keep going on with those types of videos. We also got NFL draft content on the way. We have a recent mock draft that went up, but a lot is going on right now. More trades to come and some signings actually occurring today. We have you covered on Twitter for that, like always. So follow that Twitter, subscribe to the channel for all that content. Check out walkthemock.com. We use that for our member mock drafts. And if you do sign up, use code GOATHOUSE. There'll be a link pinned in the comments for that. Anything else that you need, here is our Twitter. Make sure you follow that. Always talking news on here. But going over the top 5 biggest steals from this free agency, and I'll have some honorable mentions at the end, some other steals. Number 5 is going to be HAASON, REDDICK, the pass rusher from the Cardinals, going to the Panthers, a 1-year, $8 million deal here. I expected him to get, at least, very least, 12, 11 and a half, maybe at the very, very least. But people always overpay for edge rushers on top of, them getting a lot and them being a solid pass rusher like HAASON Reddick. So I really thought, he could be. I mean, there was even guys that, Carl Lawson, I like Carl Lawson, but he got more than everyone expected. But then a guy like HAASON Reddick gets less. I think, the other guys signing first, kind of drops the market for the rest of the guys here. I think that's what happened here. I think it was key for the Panthers to get a solid pass rusher opposite of Brian Burns. Brian Burns had to carry quite a bit last year. He's very productive. And now this will help even more. HAASON Reddick, familiar with Matt Rule. He played under him when Matt Rule was the coach at Temple, so that's fantastic as well. But yeah, that was the first full year Reddick played edge rusher. For some reason the Cardinals had him inside linebacker, and he was pretty damn productive there. So this was a steal here. When I talk about maybe the best deals, which would be a separate video, I kind of tend to go for the security deals, longer term with big impact players. But there's a lot of 1-year deals that were just absolute steals, and Reddick comes in at number 5. Number 4 is going to be Kyle Fuller to the Broncos, cut by the Bears. Surprising cut there by the Chicago Bears. Was not expecting that one. Their number 1 corner. And the Broncos pick him up very quickly. Familiar face there at Vic Fangio, and they signed him to a 1-year, $9.5 million deal. Now, if he was a free agent at the start of free agency, he definitely would have got more than this. You look at guys like Shaq Griffin and William Jackson, who are a little younger, but they get, at 13 to 14 million range. And Kyle Fuller probably the best corner day one, from the entire free agency class. Maybe still some upside from the other guys. But it feels like Fuller, just got going a few years ago. So it still feels like he's got some good play. And the Broncos pick him up for under 10 million. I thought he would have got, it's a 1-year deal. So, 1-year deals tend to be a little less per year than the multi-year deals, but still would have thought more than that. And the Broncos were looking for that number 1 corner. I was getting worried that Darby was going to end up being the number 1 corner, but now it's going to be Fuller. So, not only did they upgrade the secondary, upgrade number 1 corner, but, they get an epic steal here with Kyle Fuller. Number 3 is going to be a wide receiver, Will Fuller. Goes to the Dolphins, $10.6 million off of 1 year. One of the big-time receiver free agents here, thought he would get a multi-year deal for over $15 million, over that, around that tag range, maybe more than it, because speed, one of the fastest guys on the football field today's era, and, that kills in it always kills, but especially in today's game. It feels like he's getting better. Before he got suspended, I really thought he was getting better as a route runner with his footwork, understanding coverages, defenses, finding the open seams. So I thought he was getting better, so that's fantastic as well. Is only a 1-year deal, so I guess we can't see a ton of upside from this, but is a 1-year deal, 10.6. That's a steal. It's exactly what the Dolphins needed. They needed speed, and they need Tua to get the downfield game going that we saw at Alabama. Obviously, prospects, young quarterbacks going from college to the NFL, they could be worse going from college to the NFL, but they usually don't see it where, he's a phenomenal deep ball prospect to no deep ball presence whatsoever. That usually isn't a thing. I think you kind of just needed to get, somebody like Will Fuller, and they went out and did that. So that was an epic steal, $10.6 million. Another receiver here coming in at number 2, it's going to be Juju Smith-Schuster on a 1-year, $8 million, turning down offers from the Chiefs and the Ravens. The Ravens, I believe, was around $13 million. The Chiefs around $11 million. Goes back to the Steelers. Because, if he's going to sign a one-year deal, he'd prefer to go back to his team. That makes sense. But he's also kind of banking on himself, like the other guy signing the one-year deal, banking on himself next year, hitting free agency when the cap goes up, and, so in the meantime, might as well go play where he loves to play with the Steelers. And they're getting him for $8 million. I thought him and Fuller were kind of be in the same price range. I thought, even with the kind of the market crashing a little bit, I still would have thought Juju would have got a multi-year offer for a pretty good price because he's still very young, still got some upside, with the right teams. So, but the draft class is loaded, so that would make sense why maybe those teams that would normally be interested maybe pump the brakes a little bit here. But he comes at number 2, biggest steal of free agency. I guess we should say so far because it's still going. Number 1 for me is going to be Jameis Winston back to the Saints. I thought this was a great deal here. Only $5.5 million. Yes, it has incentives to reach around $10 million. But that means he's playing well if he's reaching that. So everything's okay. It doesn't count as a cap hit, preseason, affecting other signings doesn't, affect that, which was perfect for the Saints, tough situation that they're in. But yeah, 1 year, $5.5 million for a quarterback that has big playability, can stretch the field, can get the ball downfield, can move, escape pressure if he needs to. I still think he can play. Yes, turnovers, a little bit of an issue. But there's so many quarterbacks, so many passing games in the NFL that just consistently can't get first downs and continue to move the ball and get points up on the board. They'll go games without doing it. And I think that's why Jameis Winston definitely should be a starter in this league, and is definitely better than a lot of guys that are getting too many chances because he'll turn the ball over, but he will push the ball downfield. He'll get you those explosive plays. I'm excited to see what the Saints look like with Jameis Winston in their offense. I really wish they had their roster from last year with a guy like Jameis Winston. They kind of had to tear it down a little bit, but they can, hopefully nail the draft, get a few other minor pieces here, because it's going to be a little different look Saints. I think that was a big problem, why they would kind of get exposed in the playoffs a little bit because it's not the hardest game plan. We've seen this team for so long. So Jameis Winston changes things up. Again, going to stretch the field out. Really excited about that. Hopefully they get him some more receivers, though. Hopefully Michael Thomas is healthy so he can get back towards one of the best receivers in football. It'll be fun to watch. But yeah, I really like this Winston deal. But then there's some other ones I want to mention. I mean, I can list several. There's a lot of steals, and especially with this market. These are kind of the next tier guys. Really cheap contracts. Compared to what I expected. The Eagles got Anthony Harris for around $5 million. I thought this would be a guy that would end up overpaid around, 10, 11 million. Instead, he ends up underpaid at $5 million. I do like the fit with the Eagles. They get Jonathan Gannon, who will coach the defense. And that's a really good fit at safety for that new defense there. Bengals getting Mike Hilton. Definitely one of my favorite signings of the offseason. They bring him in for $6 million a year. This is one of the better slot corners in football. He's also going to blitz a ton in that defense. So excited about that. It's a pretty good deal. That did feel like, maybe why I love the deal, love the signing. Maybe why I didn't make the top 5. Slot corner market's probably around that range. It's still a steal, though. Obviously, I put it up here. Jason Verrett instantly goes back to the Niners as soon as free agency started for $5.5 million. I thought he would get 8 to 10.5 range, somewhere around there. Goes back to the 49ers, and that helped them a lot too because they needed to make other moves. Trent Williams being the big one, they had to break the bank for him. So Verrett really assisted in that. It was a big one. Patriots get Kyle Van Noy back, not much of a surprise, but what the surprise was is they get him for $6 million per year here. I think a heck of a ball player still. I thought you can get him for, I thought he would cost $10 million around there, maybe at least. But maybe he took a hometown discount, going back to the Patriots, even though it's not his actual hometown. But going back to the Patriots there, I'm assuming he might have had better offers elsewhere, maybe from the Titans, actually. And the Titans get Jayon Brown back. The linebackers, Matt Milano coming off the board before free agency even started, I thought really helped out these linebackers. They were going to get more money, but that wasn't the case. Maybe Jayon Brown's injury last year affected him, his price range here, but I thought those teams desperate for linebacker help Would have paid around $10 million for him. The Titans get him back for $5.3 million. They were actually trying to trade for Benardrick McKinney, who the Dolphins ended up getting, because I thought they felt like they weren't going to be able to pay Jam Brown, and he kind of just fell in their lap. So that ended up working pretty well. And a former Charger and Titan here, Desmond King goes back to the Texans. I thought one of the better slot corners in football. A guy like Mike Hilton definitely better, but really, really solid. I thought especially with the slot corner market, yeah, sure, maybe at least $5 million there. But he gets $3.5 million. The Texans they're giving out all kinds of deals like this, but this is definitely one of the better ones. There's guys that kind of match this deal for the Texans that, King is just a lot better overall player in those guys, even though they might be a different position. So, and again, there was a lot more steals. There's a lot more steals out there. This is kind of that the level 2 group here, after my top 5. Making this video for my overall favorite, I guess, / the best signings in my opinion. And we'll have kind of the sneaky good signings as well, in my opinion, the underrated ones. And we'll talk about, maybe at some point, because there's still a lot going on here with signings, but who's the biggest winners, losers, which teams got better, stayed the same, got worse. Talk about all that. NFL draft content is on the way as well as we're getting closer. It's going to be a crazy, once we get there, it's going to be a crazy amount here. We got a recent mock draft up, but follow us on Twitter for all the updates, whether it's for a channel or for the NFL. And then, yeah, please subscribe, smash that like button, join us for all that content. We much appreciate any link that you need, that you're looking for there, be down in the comments and or description section there. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye.